Welcome to the 29th round of WTSS Season 7. We're at the Albert Park Circuit in Melbourne, Australia, for the last race of the 4-race Australian Tour. Yuki Tamura, championship leader, puts a decisive pole position in qualifying to get in front of all of her title rivals and start out front in a race that could easily set her up for a first career championship. The three main title contenders coming in: Chris Loubiere finding himself 8th place in qualifying, and Yuki Tamura's teammate Ryan Reed down in 19th place. The top three in the championship are all separated by single-digit points coming into what is the second-to-last race of the year. An inaugural event at this amazing Grand Prix circuit in Australia is going to see 40 high-octane, loud V8 stock cars go around this track for 38 laps with championship leader Yuki Tamura on pole. Let's get to the start. The pace car pulls in. We're going to be ready for 38 laps around this historic Australian Grand Prix circuit. Yuki Tamura and Chanarong Wangzawat take the green, and we're underway in the second-to-last race in the final road course of WTSS Season 7. Down to turn 1, Tamura gets the advantage on the outside of Wangzawat through the first corner. Will Hoyt files into that third position, crucially ahead of the 4 of Eugene DeMax and the 66 of William Duncan. Down into the braking zone at turn 3 for the first time. This is going to be our big opportunity for overtaking in this race. A lot of teams in their simulations saw the opportunity down the inside at 3, using the outside lane as the preferred line through turn 4 to make moves. Duncan holding back Alex Bignacco around the outside at turn 5. That is going to be one of the tight squeeze spots on this racetrack. Everybody getting extremely close quarters. But we're clean through the first half of the lap. Oh, trouble! Hard into the wall! Upside down goes Roberto Crown Jr. Mark Knudsen, the reigning champion. Sean Angel, James Gibson. Massive damage to all 4 involved. Huge crash at the exit of the second sector. And that's effectively going to end Sean Angel's championship hopes, as distant as they were coming in. That's going to be game over. Almost absolutely. Wangzawat already defending from Will Hoyt on the exit right there as we come into the final sector. An unbelievable crash at the opening half of the first lap that has put the 46, the 57, the 58, and the 75 with some severe damage, and at least 2 cars guaranteed out of this event, as Yuki Tamura leads lap number 1 with a monstrous gap of now over a second over Chanarong Wangzawat. 1.3 seconds already. That's absolutely absurd. So we see moves in the back heading into turn 1. Ryan Reed, third in the points coming in, 9 points back of the championship lead. Has fallen to 22nd after the opening lap from his 19th place qualifying run. That is absolutely not where the 90 car would want to be ending up at the end of that first lap. And at the back of the field, we see drivers that had to really check up to miss the accident, including Mitchell Carter and Chris Dodd, who's fallen off the complete back of the field. James Gibson and Sean Angel have made their way back to pit lane to repair whatever damages they can try and fix on their cars. And out front, by what looks to be nearly 2 seconds now, is the 60 of Yuki Tamura, absolutely sailing on the opening couple of laps of this race. You could almost forgive her if that engine failure at Calder Park completely derailed her season. If from that moment forward the momentum came to a dead stop after that absolutely tragic points loss in a double points event. But it almost feels like it's fueled her forward. She's just made absolute gains, and her focus has never been higher. I mean, genuinely. She is absolutely on one. end of the second lap, we come across start finish. And the gap goes from 1.3 up to 2.5 seconds. 1.2 seconds faster than Chanarong Wangzawa at that time by. And maybe that might just be that Wangzawa is struggling right now. Will Hoyt is all over the back of the 08, so we'll have to just wait and see as the 17 fires one down the inside at turn 3, tries to stay alongside to have the preferred line down to turn number 4, swings around the outside of the Rocket Atkinson Sayat, and Tristan Wilhoit up into the second position behind his former teammate. There's Sebastian Van Daalen overtaking the 02, Fabio Vitabasa. Van Daalen came just short of that first career victory last week in Phillip Island. How much he would want it. How hard he has driven this season as a rookie. So many amazing milestones he has made in what has been a generational rookie season. And as we head down to the final sector, unbelievable gap from the 60. But now the question being, now that the floodgates have opened, the 08 is now lost out to Tristan Wilhoit. What's the pace differential? Is Wilhoit now going to be quicker than the 60 car, or is there going to be still an advantage? But now as she rounds the final corner, this will be the moment of truth. Even though Wilhoit had some battling last time by, is it going to be that 1.5 second gap, that 1.2 seconds she gained on Wangzawa the previous lap? Wilhoit across the line, she gained 0.6. So Wilhoit, even while making an overtake, lost half the gap that she pulled to Wangzawa. So now will be a moment of truth lap for the 17 car to see how he can respond. Through turn 5 we go. There's a move back here. Stavanaugh trying to make forward progress on Aiden Shepard. A distant championship threat in the 80 car. First time he's been in contention for a championship this late into a season. Now, I don't want to fearmonger a little bit, but Sean Angel is running about 5 seconds a lap slower than the leaders. Yuki Tamura is going to catch him very soon. Before we're even up to the double-digit laps in this race, she's going to catch him in a heap of time right here. Patrick Smith with some damage in the 77, front and rear. Not sure where he got that, but it must have been an incident somewhere on the racetrack. Or maybe it was just a big checkup into the braking zone. Got sandwiched maybe. I don't know, but it was very unfortunate for the Van Daalen Autosport driver. Does he choose to come into the pits to repair? No, he does not. Smith continues on very bravely. These cars get tire ups very easy with the metal bodies they still have on them. Most racing series have gone to composite. These ones are still metal. They're still fabricated by the teams. James Gibson also off the pace, but not nearly as much off the pace as the 58. It's going to take a lot longer for these leaders to catch him. But nonetheless, Wilhoit is stabilizing the gap a bit. Gained a couple tenths on Tamura. So we'll have to keep an eye on these guys. Maybe he was just, maybe it was just a lap where he happened to be better than the 60, but we'll have to see if she can respond back. Well, it's a tenth and a half. A tenth and a half in favor of Tamura, so it's not really definitive who's quicker of the two. And Yuki Max is really struggling to get past Chanarong Wongsuwat here. I'm not quite sure what the issue is, but Wongsuwat is significantly slower than the lead too. But every single time, and it appears Max is much quicker, but it appears every single time he attempts to make the pass, it just, whatever he tries isn't working right now. As we see Daniel Giroux making a dive on Brandon Crasta back there. Side by side. Audi versus the Dodge. Swings around the outside of the 63. If he can clear before the corner, which he doesn't, Crasta pinches him down to the curb and keeps the spot for the time being. There's Sean Angel right there. Tamura will catch him within the next lap, for sure. Should be quite easy work, though, from her to get past the 58. Lots of cars running a bit wide over the curb there, but to be quite frank, this has actually been a much calmer start to the race than what the teams and drivers were anticipating. Based on all the simulations they saw of this event at their simulators and their calculations, there was going to be a lot more overtaking in these opening few laps. It looked a lot more frantic, but right now it really seems like a game of track position. The only real opportune passing zone is into turn 3, as I think I figured out what the issue is with the 4 of Yuki Max. He looks really tight through the 90-degree turn 1. He gets right up to the back of the 08. He's much quicker through the rest of the lap. And when trying to size up to stay close enough, yeah, look at that, at the hairpin too, he runs really wide at turn 3. Oh, Nugroho on Louviere, this is for 9th place. The championship second place driver nearly loses another position, but stays ahead of the Indonesian just barely. Tamura catches Angel. In the 58. And has not overtaken him? Okay. Must have just caught him at a bad time or something. She now comes right up to the back of the 58. It's the straight line speed that is the deficit on that 58 car, for sure. And he doesn't make the move. Still, no move made. I am really shocked now. I don't quite know what the plan is here, but Tamura is just hovering behind that 58 car of Angel completely. Down the front straightaway, she's not even making a move. I'm not sure what's going on here. I really like... Is she taunting Tristan Wilhoit? I mean, seriously. It's been almost a whole lap. And look at that. The passing zone at turn 3, she doesn't even try. I don't know what she's doing. She's giving up heaps of time to Tristan Wilhoit. Through turn 5, here comes Wilhoit. I don't know what Tamura is doing. This has to be on purpose. I don't know. Is this hubris in motion here? Is she just tempting him to get closer? Whatever the matter, she's not making the move. She's just not passing Sean Angel. And I don't know why. Will Hoyt is here. He's caught the 60 car. The 4-second race lead has evaporated. It's gone. Here's Will Hoyt. He looks inside. Into the final couple corners. He's on the bumper of the 60 at Tamura for the lead. And all that advantage that Tamura had over the DeMax, Wong Zawad, Duncan, and Benyako battle back there. Also. Down the front straightaway. Tamura makes the move on Angel. The moment that Will Hoyt caught her, she just instantly decided, all right, it's time to go. Was that her playing with the 17, toying with him? Does she feel like she has that much pace in the car that she's willing to just throw away multiple seconds of I don't know. Will Hoyt was unable to clear the 58 there. Yuki Tamura continues to lead. She's lapped Sean Angel now, but has much less of an advantage over Tristan Will Hoyt than what she had before. I really don't know what the play was there. Other than to taunt him. There's really, I can't see any other outcome. That is one of the most bizarre things I've ever witnessed in all of my seasons of commentating the WTSS. I've never seen that happen before. Well, regardless of the matter, Yuki Tamura continues to lead at Melbourne, at Albert Park. Now you see this battle once again between DeMax and Wong Zawad. Here, we'll stay alongside with this 4-car to try and prove a point. DeMax is so much faster than Wong Zawad through the entirety of the lap. Like the overall package that those two cars have, the 4-car is much quicker. Look how close he pulls to the back of the 08 right now. Then we have a 90-degree right-hander coming into the final little bit of the lap, and he just doesn't turn. It just overshoots. We've seen you can make passes around here. People have done it this race. And then as a result, DeMax is chasing Wong Zawad all the way down through the final couple corners and on the run down to turn 1. And then right as you think DeMax is going to get close enough, he has a terrible turn 1. That 90-degree right-hander, he just got nothing. That car is just so tight in the slow corners that his mechanical grip is costing him a chance. What a march forward from Alison Figueroa we saw in Phillip Island. The rookie trying to keep herself in mathematical contention for the championship. Tamura grows the gap already to a 1.5 seconds immediately from the 17 of Tristan Will Hoyt. That is unbelievable speed. Unmatchable, in my opinion, without some severe adjustments in the pit cycle. Here we go. Wong Zawad and the rest of them catch Angel at a poor time, and they have to settle to stay behind. Now what do we do? Down into the braking zone. Wong Zawad moves. DeMax moves. Duncan moves 4 wide almost into the braking zone. They all back out of it. Everybody stays in the positions they entered the corner in. Benyako's now alongside Duncan, side by side for 5th place. Down the front straightaway, Duncan holds off the 29 of Benyako, and both, Both Wongzuat and DeMax get through on the 58 of Angel. And Vignacco fights back around the outside of the 66 and clears William Duncan to enter the top 5. Crucial move from the 29 car. But Vignacco, he gets alongside Angel. Can he clear him before turn 5? Wow, what a crucial moment there to keep the top 5 and get a gap between himself and the rest of the cars behind. Oh, is Duncan going to try something down the inside in turn 6? He will, and he pulls it off. Brilliant stuff. Opportunistic. Love it. That's a seasoned veteran right there making a move like that. Takada's going to find a way through now. 2 seconds the gap between Tamura and Wilhoit. It appears the 60 car is still much faster than the Maverick Motorsport 17. And that she may have actually, in fact, been taunting him that whole time. Which would be just one of the most gutsy plays I've ever seen on the racetrack. Sebastian Van Daalen looks like he's been into the pits with some damage repairs. And so the 81 car, after absolute heroics last week in Phillip Island, it's all for nothing today as Louviere fights for 8th place with Alison Figueroa as they are stuck behind Sean Angel. Oh boy, they're both going to catch the 58 at a weird time here. Down into turn 1, Louviere clears the Mazda of Angel and clears Figueroa, who also loses out to Nugroho and drops to 10th place now. Big move from Chris Louviere, who comes in 2nd in the championship into this race. 3 wide! Figueroa to the bottom on Nugroho and Angel. Backs out of it at the last second. Unreal. Nugroho's going to clear the 58 here. Figueroa tries inopportune move at turn 5. Gets stuck behind Angel once again. Going to try the inside at 6 like Duncan. Not close enough. Man, terrible lap for Alison Figueroa. Nothing she's done has gone right. It's one of those deals where you know it, too. She makes the move on Angel. Should be signed, sealed, and delivered. An easy move now. And gets through on the 58. But she's already dropped to 10th place and the damage is done. Wongsuat continuing to absolutely hold up to Max and company. Have to see how that one turns out. But meanwhile, as we look out back ahead, that 2.5 second gap is continuing to just gradually grow for the 60 car of Yuki Tamura. Meanwhile, as we look through the rest of the field, we got a move there as McLennan attempted on Jake Stevens there in the 18. They're going to stay side by side. Someone's got to give here. Can Stevens hold on to the position, or is McLennan going to steal one around the outside? Around the outside and then switches to the inside. McLennan can't clear the 18 though. They stay side by side. They're going to lose out to Sean Angel in all this, and they're going to not even be able to get past the 58 in the long-term goal here. And Stevens is going to stay ahead of the 87, or is he? Yes, he will. But neither of them were able to get past Sean Angel. That whole time they wasted all that time battling, and neither of them made the move on the 58. Here comes Bolden now down the inside of McLennan. Shepard down the inside of Stavinaugh. Multiple moves happening at once here. Shepard and Stavinaugh, can the 42 clear? No, Stavinaugh hangs on, pinches him down to the curb, keeps the spot. Now, one thing to note, when you look at the rest of the field here, Angel is going to be monstrously slower than all of them. So if there's ever a big opportunity for some of these guys to make moves on their opponents, in a time where they've had trouble finding a way past. This would be the moment. This would be the time to do it. Stevens and McLennan still trying to find a way past down into the braking zone. Surely there's going to be a move made, but it's made by McLennan, not by Stevens. And once again, unable to find a way past the 58. Absolutely ridiculous. They've all lost an entire lap to the cars ahead. Too busy fighting each other. Same story, second lap in a row. This time McLennan is going to clear the 18 of Stevens to take the 11th spot away. Surely he'll get past Angel down the front straightaway here, but Jake Stevens, what an absolute disaster these last couple laps have been for the Rocket Atkinson rookie. Can he stay ahead of Ryan Bolden at least down to turn 1? That's going to be the question. Look at Stavanaugh continuing his forward charge. Stevens has got to do something soon. He goes down the inside of Angel to try and keep up with McLennan down into turn 3. Stavanaugh on foils. Angritz on Shepard. Mark on Teskar. Stevens unable to clear the 58. He stays behind Sean Angel. Stavanaugh got Boyles. And now he's looking on Finguy. Whoa! Down to the braking zone. Inopportune spot to even attempt to pass, but he's going to pull it off. Jake Stavanaugh keeping himself in this title fight. Big moves being made. Finally, Stevens finds a spot where he's guaranteed to get past that 58 car, but my goodness, has it been like pulling teeth getting past Sean Angel at certain points in this race. The gap out front grows over 3 seconds now between the Tamura machine and Will Hoyt as an opportunistic around the outside move from Bolden gets through on Angel. How about Stavanaugh? He doesn't send one. Nobody does. Wow. Whole run down the order. James Gibson is just now entering turn 3 of the racetrack while Tamura enters turn 1. So eventually we will see Yuki Tamura encounter James Gibson. It's just a question of how long will it take. Stavanaugh gets through on the 58 of Angel, now down to turn 1. There's Kyle Bisceglia on Mitchell Mark there, down the inside. That's for the 19th position. Mark hangs on for the time being. Bisceglia unable to get through. Look at this train still being formed by Chanarong Wangzuat. You have to think something's got to give there between those two. Finguy round the outside of Sean Angel to try and clear before turn 5, and does so. The 92 sneaks through. Nearly 4 seconds between Tamura and Will Hoyt as Boyles fires one down the inside at an opportune moment on Sean Angel. Angel with the preferred line around the outside though, but now the straight line speed part of this sector is easily done for as Shepard follows through as well around the outside, following Boyles through. Half the field have now lapped the 58 of Sean Angel as they go side by side into the chicane at the end of the lap. That's contact, hard contact between Sean Angel and Aiden Shepard. Left side door damage for the 42 car. Big send up ahead. Stavanaugh's forward march continues if he can get this from Ryan Bolden. We've seen that inside move fail so many times this race, but an unassisted send down the inside of the 7 car results in the 80 being alongside by the final 2 turns. And Jake Stavanaugh is on one today. He gets through on Ryan Bolden for the 12th position. 13th position. What a forward march from that 80 car. He has arguably been one of the strongest faces in this race. A top 10 could be on the cards if he keeps this pace up. That is a very fast Roush Racing Enterprises Ford. Meanwhile, Wangsawat and Demax continue their absolute stalemate at the front of this group of cars from third onward. As Mitchell Mark and Cale Teskar Jr. have been the newest drivers to find a way past the wounded number 58 of Sean Angel. Back up front. Now 4 seconds the gap between Wilhoit and Tamura as Angel claims another group of cars to get stuck behind in that fast winding sector. Oh, Demax with a bad corner. Benyako thought about it around the outside but couldn't hold it. Stavina already eyeing up a move on Jake Stevens. That 80 car is ridiculous. He is just, everything he tries is just working. Buschelia on Angel to put him a lap down. Look at the opportunistic move from Ryan Reed around the outside. He's got to do what he needs to keep his championship hopes alive, and he's trying something on the 27. Side by side for 21st place. He started 19th. He lost 3 spots on the initial lap. He hasn't been able to make a single one back. He hangs it around the outside on the quarter panel of the 27 of Buschelia and holds on alongside of him. Patrick Smith into the pits, the first taker of the race with that damage he got from what I think was a rear-ending accident. Buschelia hangs on to the position ahead of Ryan Reed. Disaster for the man who led the points for so much this season. This could be a pretty sizable undercut for Patrick Smith. Lap times have been dwindling. But it's a question of how long. Yeah, damage repairs are going to take a while. So even with a major undercut like that, it's going to hurt him regardless. Now the question being, how many laps has he undercut the field by now? We're only 2 laps away from halfway, which opens up a guaranteed pit window for everybody else. But how much time can he make up? Down the front straightaway, you can see James Gibson up ahead in the 75. Now the question being, will Tamura catch him before this pit cycle begins? Stavina all over the back of Jake Stevens now. Finguy making a move on Ryan Bolden. The 7 car struggling late in the run. Sean Angel and Ryan Reed and Kyle Buschelia have still not been able to find a way past the 58 car. This has been an absolute disaster. This is some Jeff McLennan and Jake Stevens type battling that is holding them all back and giving them nothing to gain. Down the front straightaway. Still side by side between the 2 of them. No one's going to be able to get past the lapper once again of Sean Angel. This is ridiculous stuff. Oh, Stavina eyes up a move on Stevens. Not close enough. Down to turn 3. Gap up to 4.4 up front for Yuki Tamura now. Ryan Reed can't get down the inside of Angel. They've cost themselves too much time. He's taken 21st from the 27 of Buschelia, but at what cost? How much time they've lost to the group ahead. Absolutely ridiculous. Giroux versus Krasta continues once more. But this time I think the 2 is going to finally keep the position. Yes, he will. And there is Reed inside at turn 6, making the move done on Angel. Buschelia will follow quickly behind, with Elijah Innes not being able to squeeze through in time. So just Reed and Buschelia find their way through. And we begin the halfway lap of this race for Yuki Tamura. Stavenall all over the back of Stevens. He is just right on the spoiler of that 18 car. Hasn't been able to find a way through yet, but this 80 car is hooked up, and on the long run, it has come alive. And as we head down the front straightaway, look how close he gets to the back of the 18. You wouldn't be very smart to make a move down the inside at 1 the next lap, but Stavenall says he's just going to try and scare the 18 out of the corner. He never got alongside of him. I think that was not an attempt at a pass. That was an attempt to maybe force the 18 into a mistake. But as a result, it's put him on the back foot on the run down to turn 3. He might not be close enough now on the Rocket Atkinson, and as such, stays behind for yet another lap. As big move, Bignacco overshoots the corner while trying to hold off William Duncan. The 66, side-by-side preferred line now for the Mother Energy Subaru, and William Duncan gets through for 5th place on Alex Bignacco after a long stalemate between these drivers back here. Will that unleash the 66 to be able to make through the Demax and Longsawat battle? Only time will tell. Tamura has now basically caught the 75 of James Gibson. The question being, when does the pit cycle occur? We're going to come to complete the halfway point of this race this time around. Tamura stays out once again, and will begin the second half of this race. Wilhoit nearly 5 seconds back, and I would almost bet it's going to be 5 seconds back across the finish this time. Stavenall once again inside on Stevens into the second to last corner. Stevens is bailing. He's the first one into the pits at the end of lap 19 for the 18 car. Finn Guy follows in. There's Shepard versus Voiles there for position. Who else is going to sneak their way into the pits? Fabio Vitabassa is in. I don't see anybody else. Maybe Mitchell Carter, but he really just needs to do something. Honestly. He does not come in, though. Elijah Innes has been into the pits at some point in the 1 car, though I see damage on the nose of that number 1 Toyota Supra, so at some point he has collected himself into another car as Tamura makes quick work and clears the 75 of Gibson before we even get to her pit cycle. Now she's got no traffic ahead. This could be what she needs to go after this race victory once and for all in this race. Duncan all over the back of Eugene Demax for the 4th position. That 66 car is lighting up the timing sheets in this group of cars. Sebastian Van Daalen is back into the pits. It's just been an absolute disaster of a race. Yuki Tamura looks to be in. End of lap 20. Yes, she is. Into the pits goes the point leader and race leader. Tristan Wilhoit's in as well. Does anybody stay out an extra lap? I think we might be seeing some right here. Longsawat and Demax are in. William Duncan, Alex Bignacco, Ray Takeda, Arnie Nugroho, Allison Figueroa, these 5 stay out, and I almost wonder if this is a lap of freedom of sorts to get out from behind the Longsawat machine and try and make up the difference on the in-lap. Bignacco trying a move inside on Duncan into turn 1, but it's too little too late. I almost wonder if that was just an attempt to try and scare Duncan out of it, but not to be done for the 66. Tamura coming out of the pits. Can she stay ahead of Ryan Bolden into turn 1? Yes, she can, and now she's got 3 cars traffic in between herself and Tristan Wilhoit. So now, really interesting stuff going on here as we complete the 20th lap of this race here at Albert Park. Now what do you do? And what does that mean for the people that stayed out an extra lap? Really interesting thoughts going on here as well. Will this be a good enough lap? You gotta think. Wangzuat has been so off the pace in comparison to the cars around. Where does this leave them? Louviere has split the Demax and Wangzuat machines and is now attacking the 08. Trying to make forward progress on a road course, something he has not done very much this season. Shepard down the inside of Bolden. That's 4th position. Everybody else back into the pits. Not too surprising in my opinion there. Tires are completely dead at this point in the race. Tamura is going to stay out and regain the lead ahead of Will Hoyt. I think the moment of truth for the whole field, at least in terms of the front-running positions, is where does William Duncan come out in relation to Wangzuat and Demax? Coming out of the pits soon, I would have to imagine, is the Maverick Motorsports number 66 of William Duncan. Yes, it is. Here he comes, merging onto the racetrack, and I think he might have done it, you know. Into turn 1, Wangzuat's not close enough, and is behind the 66 of Duncan, but now the 66 has got cold tires. What do you do now? Because frankly, you're at the disadvantage now. Well, he's made it to turn 3 without being dive-bombed. There's Jeff McLennan in the 87, directly behind as well. Now what do you do? Now it is a case of, can you stay ahead on the cold tires long enough for them to equalize? Wangzuat directly behind, with Louviere in tow. Duncan now gapping away from the 08. I think he has successfully pulled this off and has gotten his Maverick Motorsports car into the podium places. What a miraculous turnaround from that pit crew, and a great strategy call to pull the one-lap overcut and get ahead and now be the one car behind the lead duo who have put themselves into a massive, massive advantage at the front of the field. With Demax ahead of McLennan back there as well, it has been a disaster, though, with Louviere splitting Wangzuat and Demax for them on that strategy, and no longer will they be holding up the whole field, but now the drivers who have been stuck behind for so long, unable to find a way through in this battle. And now, as we come off the final corner, Duncan ahead of Wangzuat. This is the positions we're in. Tamura leading 6.4 now, ahead of Tristan Wilhoit, who seems to have gotten a little bit of trouble behind the 75 of James Gibson. 21.5 seconds back to William Duncan. That's the gap. That's how much damage Chanarong Wangzuat and Eugene Demax have done to this whole field. And with 15 and a half laps to go, the point leader, Yuki Tamura, needs to start opening up the gap to Tristan Wilhoit. What she doesn't need is a Maverick Motorsports team getting a better adjustment than that Roush Racing 60. Now let's get a scope of the running order now. After a pit cycle like that saw a lot of different strategies result in a lot of different effects to the running order. We got Yuki Tamura still leading by an even larger margin over Tristan Wilhoit. Then it's William Duncan making a double Maverick Motorsports podium in the 3rd position. Wangzuat holds fort And we have skid marks off the exit there. Maybe that's what happened to Elijah Innes in the 1 car. Wang Zawat holding strong in 4th still. Does not look to be as struggling as hard as he was during that first stint. Then it's Louviere making a triple Maverick top 5 in the 5th position. Then it's Eugene DeMax. Then it's Jeff McLennan making it all 4 Maverick Motorsports cars in the top 7 positions. Then Jeffrey Finguy. Then Ray Takeda. And then Jake Stevens rounding out your top 10. Benyakos down to 11th. Nugroho in 12th. Jake Stavanaugh in 13th. Allison Figueroa has dropped to 14th. And Patrick Smith has come out in 15th. We said that that undercut could possibly still play a factor even with his damage repairs, and it has. He's come out in 15th. He's got a lot of damage on his car and way older tires, but he's 15th for the time being, and we'll see how long he can hang on to a position like that. Ryan Reed has fallen to 25th. Absolute utter disaster now for the man who comes in 3rd in points, 9 points back of the championship. I'm not sure what kind of positive spin you could take on that, but I wouldn't dare try. The only thing you can say is he's still going to be mathematically eligible for the title entering the finale right now, but it's going to be a lot larger of a gap than 9 points. Duncan starting to gap away from the 08 of Wang Zawat, and in fact has been running faster lap times than race leader Yuki Tamura and 2nd place Tristan Wilhoit, which would be a very interesting thing to see happen with all that time that he could make up. And it would be really interesting to see how detrimental Wang Zawat and DeMax actually were to the running order if Duncan starts to really etch into that lead gap as he gains another 4/10 on the race leaders that time. Nearly 7 seconds now out front for Yuki Tamura. We'll run through the running order and not seeing very much forward progress from a majority of the field. I see Ray Takeda all over the back of Jeffrey Finguy here in the 92, but she overshoots her exit onto that final part of the chicane and is going to lose ground to the 92 in the process. Finguy staying ahead for now. Patrick Smith driving like an absolute hero right now in 15th place. Miraculously, no one has been able to find a way past. You got to think these teams expected a much more hectic, much more pass-heavy event. I feel like they leaned too hard on their simulations on how easy an overtake was going to make if you had a pace differential between the car ahead of you and yourself. But right now it is track position, track position, track position, and I don't think they expected it. all the teams were reporting in their simulations there was going to be a lot of overtaking, but it does not look like it for now. Seven seconds between Tamura and Wilhoit. Duncan has cut a second and a half off of both of them in the last 3 laps. "12 laps to go for Yuki Tamura. She survived the first 26 of them. Patrick Smith, take a bow. Your defensive driving is absolutely a miracle right now." As he continues to hang on to 15th place with old tires and damage. Louviere starting to fall off the back of Wangsawat now, as the 08 seems to have found some sort of a pace window of his own. Duncan has caught the 75 of Gibson, but appears to have caught him at the best possible moment, because we're about to enter the fastest sector on the lap, which is where the 75 is hurting with that damage. The long sweeping left-hander, the 66, clears the 75 and continues on with his march forward, but without there being any safety cars on the road courses this season, that 66 stands no chance of catching the leaders without divine intervention. But can use it as fuel and as proof that if we hadn't seen the 08 and the 4 lock up the 3rd and 4th positions for as long as they did, you honestly could have seen the 66 of Duncan contending late in this race. Oh, there's another question to ask yourself. Will Yuki Tamura catch Sean Angel one more time before this race is over? 58 car just coming underneath the big bridge towards the end of the lap, while Tamura comes through the long sweeping left-hander in the final sector. It is stabilized at about a 7-second gap out front between herself and Wilhoit. Duncan continues to chip away multiple tenths a lap as Wangsawat catches Gibson now. Sneaks through to the right-hand side of the 75. Through that final chicane once again. Patrick Smith still doing God's work right now, hanging on to the 15th position. Still is an absolute miracle that he's pulled this off. He has to be running numerous seconds a lap slower than the cars ahead. Yes, he's lost 5 seconds to the cars ahead since the pit cycle. And he's not done yet. How long can he hang on, though? Voiles tries to fire one down the inside. He puts the bumper to the 77, and Patrick Smith doesn't budge. Holds strong. 10 laps to go for Yuki Tamura, by the way. 10 laps left for Tamura to take one step closer to the championship trophy ceremonies in Motegi. Reminder, the finale is in her home country of Japan. How heartfelt that could be if she could pull it off. Don't forget, Chris Bouvier is still right in this as well, and a first top 5 of the season on a road course could really solidify him a good chance at staying close enough to that 60 in points heading into said finale round. Patrick Smith is just... I am in awe. I have no words for the defensive drive he is shaping up right now. That is an unbelievable defense he is pulling off. As Louviere catches Gibson now in the 75. Makes a peek to the right-hand side and should make easy work of the 75 at Gibson. Oh, can DeMax find a way around the outside too and follow Gibson through? No, he can't. 75 is going to be on an awkward line here through the chicane. McLennan running a bit wide. Keeps himself on the racetrack though. Down into the braking zone. Will anybody try some heroics here? McLennan does. Dives on DeMax. Dives on Gibson. Tries the double dive bomb. Stays alongside the 4 of DeMax at the very least. Stays alongside the 75 of Gibson. I don't believe what Jeff McLennan has just pulled off. They say that driving in your home track gives you a couple extra tenths. Well, I say it makes you make a hell of a lot more gutsy race attempts when you know that everybody in the grandstands is cheering you on. Up into to 6th place now goes Jeff McLennan, which nearly makes it a Maverick quadruple top 5 without the existence of Chanrong Longswat and Yuki Tamura. DeMax also followed through. Thin guy now trying to get through on the 75 down to the braking zone at 3. Takeda does as well. Oh, the 18 of Stevens falls back. Bignacco gets alongside. Takeda will clear the 75 of Gibson. Bignacco will clear the 18 of Stevens. And Patrick Smith continues to pull absolute miracles in that 15th position ahead of Voiles and the rest of them. Tamura now 8 seconds up the road from Tristan Wilhoit. Start finish. 8 laps to go for Yuki Tamura. Big move. Jake Stavanaugh continuing to march forward. He gets alongside Jake Stevens. These two have unfinished business today. Stavanaugh agrees. He's alongside for the 10th position now. Can he finally crack the top 10? Late in the going from a nearly outside the top 20 starting position. Oh, Stevens fights back. He stays alongside the 80. But Stavanaugh gets the drive off and hangs on ahead of Jake Stevens. Or does he? He's down the inside of Gibson, which might put him vulnerable to Stevens through the first corner. Jake Stevens is back through on Jake Stavanaugh. And their continued battle rages onwards as Stevens now attacks the 75 of Gibson down to the braking zone at 3. Or does he? Stavanaugh's down the inside of the 18 once again, side by side at turn 3. Round the outside at 4. Can he clear? Can this move finally be completed after all these laps? Yes, it can. Jake Stavanaugh into the top 10. Jake Stavanaugh into the 11th position. My mistake. As he tries to find a way past Gibson. On the exit of the corner, he turns the 75 off the racetrack into the wall and loses 2 positions to Stevens and Nugroho and possibly to Figueroa in the 98. Hangs on ahead of the 98, but a disastrous mistake for Jake Stavanaugh. 2 points could mean so much of a difference later on in the finale at Motegi. And just like that, he's got to do all that hard work over again. Unbelievable. I don't know if he necessarily meant to make that move or make the contact, but definitely he was getting impatient with the 75 of Gibson. Patrick Smith's 15th place is still under major pressure, but he is still hanging on by an absolute thread. Down into the braking zone, Voiles once again puts the bumper to the 77 under braking. Mark swings around the outside of both of them almost. Can he stay alongside? Yes, he can! Patrick Smith's got company. Second to last corner, the 77 tries to hang on around the outside. Can Mark hang on around the outside himself at the final turn? Yes, he will! Patrick Smith did everything right, but there's nothing he can do to stop fresher tires in an undamaged race car. Mitchell Mark finds a way through for 15th place on the 77, and the floodgates may have just opened to stop Patrick Smith's chances at maybe even a top 20 as Voiles files through as well. Teskar also trying to squeeze through on that now outside lane coming down to turn 3. Will beg the question, can he clear the 77 of Patrick Smith? There's Smith's teammate Bisceglia down the inside of Vita Bassa. Yes, Teskar does clear Patrick Smith down into turn 3 around the outside. Those old tires on the Patrick Smith machine aching, ready to give up on him now. This will be 6 laps to go this time. McLennan has now caught Chris Louviere. This is going to be a dilemma here for sure for the Maverick Motorsports team. Do you tell McLennan to hold station and risk possibly losing a spot back to the 4 of Eugene DeMax? Or do you just tell him to be aware of the situation and know that even though you're free to make a move, that is your title contending teammate directly ahead of you? Down the front straightaway, they continue to stay pretty much nose to tail for that position. And yes, Patrick Smith is under major pressure now from teammate Bisceglia. Still has not lost any more positions, but it is looking pretty unlikely that he's going to be able to hang on to anything else. .2 seconds now as we come through the final sector for Yuki Tamura. Down the front straightaway, 5 laps to go. And this is going to be the most nervous 5 laps of Yuki Tamura's entire racing career. Knowing that every single creak, every single groan, grumble, shake and shiver that car is going to make, she's going to feel it and hear it. And know that that car is at the mercy of its own gremlins. She's going to know every single feeling that thing's going to give her. .7 seconds, as that's Finn Guy on DeMax for 7th place. And the 92 clears the Hyundai. And DeMax no longer challenging the 2 Mavericks ahead. Now Finn Guy might be the one to do so. What do you do? What do you do? And unbelievable to think that Ryan Reed is just now attempting a pass on Alex Constantine after all these laps to try and get up to 24th at the very least, and will do so as he squeezes the 64 to the curb. Oh man, you just have to feel for that whole 90 crew. They worked so hard all weekend and he just could never find the speed. As DeMax is now under pressure from another Hyundai in the form of Ray Takada, but Takada unable to stay alongside on the exit. Straightaway, the two Mavericks of Louvière and McLennan hold station as we begin the final 4 laps of this race. Stavenot has now caught back up to the back of Nugroho and Stevens, but that mistake costly in the battle as he took out James Gibson into the wall, and might end up costing him 2 crucial points that he's not going to be able to get back in this race. Bichelia still trying to get past teammate Smith. Side by side down to 3. Round the outside at 4, Kyle Bichelia wins out on the Van Daalen battle and relegates Patrick Smith even further back and even closer to the rest of the Wolves. It'll be 3 to go for Yuki Tamura this time, as she's now on the same straightaway as Sean Angel, but I don't believe she'll have to encounter him for the rest of this race. It's going to be close, but I don't believe so. Finn guy starting to inch closer to McLennan, who's fallen off the back of his teammate Louvière, but I don't know if it's going to be too little too late or what. Through that chicane, the gap almost increasing to 10 seconds now between Yuki Tamura and Tristan Wilhoit. Give a shout out to William Duncan, who I would argue is the driver of the race in this final stint at least. Since the pit cycle, it was a 22-second gap between himself and race leader Yuki Tamura. And by the end of this race, he's cut it down to 16.5 seconds. Absolutely ridiculous. And so now, two laps to go for Yuki Tamura. 9.5 seconds. You know her engineers are telling her to woe it back and just let's get to the finish line in here and just make it. But I almost wonder if she knows what the gap is and wants to be able to see that double-digit gap over second place. That selfish part of her. Vita Bassa unable to find a way through on Patrick Smith here. Oh, Smith running a bit wide into the corner. Oh no, he's not going to make it. Patrick Smith doesn't make it. He came in too early to repair that damage. And as a result, the 77 will come up just 1.5 laps short, 2 laps short for the 77. Oh, heartbreaking for Patrick Smith, who was going on for at least possibly a top 20 up to that point. That's another position for Ryan Reed, though. Huge for him, even if it is just 1 point. It could be the 1 point difference at Motegi. Rounding the final corner to face the white flag at Albert Park. 1 lap to go for Yuki Tamura. Will we see any last lap fights throughout the running order to make up any more positions? 9.7 seconds ahead of Tristan Wilhoit, and you almost think, alright, you can back off now. It's the last lap. You know you've got it won, and you don't need to catch Sean Angel by pushing too hard on this last lap. But Yuki Tamura is a racer through and through, and you know she's going to want to see that double-digit seconds gap to second place. Even if it does mean pushing like hell for 1 more lap. On to the long, not back straight, the fastest part of the racetrack. I don't think she's going to catch Angel. I think that 58 car will be left alone come the checkered flag. She's been in this scenario before. 5 wins on a season. But she wasn't in contention for the title that year. This season, she could almost be clinching it right now. Double points engine failure from 3rd place at Calder Park. Most drivers, that would absolutely crush them and possibly shake up their momentum, wobble them off of the horse. But not this driver. No one wants it more than Yuki Tamura. No one has been as gutsy this season as Yuki Tamura, and no one has even close to the number of victories that the driver of the number 60 Roush Racing Enterprises driver is going to get this season. It's going to be a 5th win on the season, and to put herself into a decent-sized point lead into her home country to try and win the championship. Yuki Tamura wins at Melbourne. Wilhoit, valiant effort into 2nd place, and she does secure the double-digit gap at the end. William Duncan cuts it down to under 16 seconds from a 22-second deficit leaving the pits. What could have been if he hadn't been stuck behind this driver, Chanarong Wongsuwat, for the first half of the race. It's going to be a triple top 5 for Maverick Motorsports and 6th place for their other driver, Jeff McLennan, in front of his home crowd. Chris Louviere gets his first top 5 on a road course this season to keep himself in contention for the championship. Finn Guy, DeMax, Takeda, and Ben Yako surviving to finish in the top 10. Then it'll be Stevens in 11th. Nugroho 12th. Stavanaugh with a great drive to the field that gets squandered by a couple mistakes to finish in 13th. Figueroa 14th. Then Mitchell Mark 15th. He'll be ecstatic about that result on a road course. Then Voiles, Teskar, Bishelia, Bolden, and Engritz rounding out the top 20 as we have a photo finish for 21st place that looks to have been won by Aiden Shepard by 0.5 tenth of a second for 21st place. That could have been 1 point for Ryan Reed. Then it's Dodd, Constantine, Curtis, Hujian, Roush, Van Daalen, Hill, and Frazier, the top 30. Then it's Krasta, Giroux, Vita Bassa, and Patrick Smith, who just came so close on fuel, but he'll have to settle for 34th. Then Mitchell Carter and Elijah Innes rounding out the lead lap. James Gibson in 37th, a lap down in the 75. And then last car running in 38th place, 1 lap down, Sean Angel in the 58. The 2 DNFs being Mark Nutt in the 57 and Roberto Crown Jr. in the 46 in that first lap accident. This driver right here comes in to a championship finale in front of her home crowd on her home soil with a home-based livery on that 60 car and with a 20-point advantage over Chris Louviere and 44-point advantage over Ryan Reed. Congratulations to Yuki Tamura, your winner here at Melbourne. We'll see you next race for the oh-so-important, oh-so-exciting championship finale at Twin Ring Motegi to decide who wins the title in WTSS Season 7.